And I think we all have different resiliences as well. That's where some people are happy down there, want to do that and don't want anything more, but others want more. And to be a senior manager, you have to be quite resilient, I believe.
Yeah, you do. And resilience, I think, to some extent, is something that you learn, but it's also something that you're born with. Because resilience is partly down to personality. And personality is, to a large extent, not completely, but to a large extent, it's genetic. I find some of the psychological research on this fascinating. There's I don't know if you've ever come across the big 5 personality traits. It's a very common way of trying to score people and their personalities. So you have essentially agreeableness, how agreeable people are, how much they like to be liked, how polite they are, that kind of thing, how easily they will comply with instructions. So you've got agreeableness, and that's relevant for health and safety though, isn't it? It's like we have agreeable people who do whatever we ask, and then we have disagreeable people who tend to ask why. Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to wear my safety glasses? There's nothing that can hit me, nothing that can hurt me. Why are you asking me to do that? It doesn't make any sense. So you got those characters, and that's not their fault. They're kind of born that way. Instead of thinking that they're just a jumped up little upstart, we should maybe appreciate the fact that that's just the way they are. It's their character. So you've got agreeableness, you've got conscientiousness, and that is people's tidiness. There's housekeeping in there. And also their reliability and their industriousness and how hard they work and how much they want to get done, how productive they are. And there are some people who are just kind of naturally untidy. And I know we've talked about OCD quite a bit, and there are people who are very tidy, very organized, very structured, and they're not OCD, they're just tidy. And that's conscientiousness. You've got extroversion, that's another trait, that's number 3 on there. Extroversion is it's about, are you shy or are you open? Are you open to social gatherings? Do you like talking in public? But also it's about assertiveness as well. So you'll find that people who are not extroverted don't tend to stand up for themselves when their manager, say, asks them to do something that's unsafe. If you're high in agreeableness and you're introverted, that might be a bit of a problem because you tend to roll over and say, yes, boss, I'll do that, boss. The 4th one is neuroticism. They've changed it now. They've inverted it to call it emotional stability, but I'm old-fashioned and I'll call it the old way, neuroticism. So some people are more neurotic than others. So this is very relevant to mental health and resilience, because some people are more likely to suffer negative emotions, like sadness and stress and anxiety and fear and depression. And that is partly genetic. And it's also partly the result of their environment and upbringing and that kind of thing as well. But it is partly genetic. I mean, the studies on men and women are fascinating on this, because you see that women are slightly higher, they score slightly higher on average on neuroticism. So essentially the cliche, the stereotype of women are more emotional than men is to some extent true. They don't score that much more highly, but they do a bit. Which is interesting because that explains why women have more mental ill health issues than men, generally speaking. They do. There are 4 times as many women attempt suicide than men. The majority of mental health issues statistically are women. Men tend to commit suicide more successfully than women, which is another issue. Divorce, for example, is predominantly initiated by women who are unhappy with their marriage, and that's a neuroticism issue. And what you find when you look at managers and leaders is that leaders tend to score low on neuroticism, because the ones who score high can't hack it. They get stressed too easily. They have the nervous breakdowns. And so that's kind of a predictor of success in management. Now, it's not to say that all leaders score low on neuroticism. These are just averages. The final one is openness to experience. And so it's people who are open to new things, new changes, open to abstract thinking. And so those people who score high on openness will be more open to changes that you make in the workplace. So you've got a new system, new piece of kit, a new solution, new procedure. Those types of people would be prepared to consider it and look at it. And some people just score low on the openness to change and tend to reject it and have to be won over gradually with time. So I find all of this fascinating and very, very relevant to what we do, and it's combinations of things which can cause some real issues. You can have people who are untidy because they've got low conscientiousness, but also highly disagreeable. So when you challenge their tidiness, you know, they will snap back at you and say, well, I think it's tidy enough for me, what's wrong with you? And when you realize just to what extent all of this is actually genetic, it's not all genetic, of course, you know, there's a bit of nature nurture, but it is to some extent from our studies on twins, where twins have been separated at birth and put into different families. And we've done a lot of that, you know, we've done a lot of that in England, Australia, and Canada. We're over the 50s, 60s, 70s. We were taking kids from families and putting them into different families. Yeah, and you see that twins, identical twins, tend to have very similar personalities and have similar scores. So there's a big genetic component in all of this. Anyway, I'll just close just by saying that when I learned all of this, you know, it just made me realize that when someone's being a dick, it might actually just be their genetics. and all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not going to have a go at someone for being, say, disabled. You know, if someone's born with legs that don't work, I'm not going to judge them for that. That's just the way they are. So if someone's a bit pig-headed and stubborn or not open to change, I have to consider the fact that maybe they were just born that way, and I have just to accept that and work with that, and I have to figure out a way of working with that person.
I've just received Compassa's NEBOSH rescue package. This has everything a National General Certificate student needs to pass their NEBOSH course. So if you've been badly let down by your NEBOSH course provider, you failed your National General Certificate exam, your course is about to expire, you've got to pay more money, you just need to get yourself one of these, and then you finally pass that NEBOSH course. Let's take a look. Oh my, it's so beautiful. NEBOSH success at last. I really wish I found Compassa before I died from boredom.